Hey everybody, I'd like to welcome you back to the Mental Health Detox, and today's video I have for you is how to cut off toxic people, protect your peace, and do so without guilt. What? I know, sounds very challenging, but understand this: cutting off toxic people isn't easy, but staying in a toxic relationship of constantly being drained, manipulated, and just in negative emotions all the time, it's a lot, and it takes a lot from you, and it takes a lot of away from your quality of life, and it's time to take back that peace. So in this video, I'm going to break down how to do that, how to remove these people from your life without guilt, so you can finally learn how to protect your mental health. And also, if you stick around to the end, I will share with you how to do so, how to do these techniques, even if you can't completely cut someone off, as if you're like related to them or if you work with them, but you're going to constantly be engaging with them, how to do that. So let's get right into it. So how do you know that it's time to cut? And there are some things that will show you some red flags that will say, hey, it's time to cut ties with this person. And one of those things are they constantly disrespect or dishonor your boundaries. It's like you can say no, or you could set limits with them and they just do not agree with it. They do not respect it, and they just go above and beyond to not do what you ask them to do. They frequently gaslight and manipulate you. They make you feel bad. You always feel drained around them. And whenever you have something going on, they're not there to support you. But when they have something going on, they need you to be all in, all involved, all ears, all hands on deck. And you never get that in return. And so those are some signs that, hey, this may be time to cut ties with this person. Because it's not being reciprocated. In the comments below, have you ever struggled to let go of a toxic relationship? Tell me all about it. I have, and I've been there on a couple occasions where I had a hard time letting go of certain people. And so that further kind of leads into my next part of this video is, what is the 3-step process? How can I do this, Caroline? What do I need to do to start cutting ties with people? And so understand that you want to do this as guilt-free and without shame as much as possible. So no second guessing. So once you start this process, make sure this is what you want to do, because again, we're going all in. It's time to cut ties. So the first thing that you want to do is to set clear boundaries and stick to them. Okay, a lot of times people don't respect our boundaries because we're the first ones to violate them. It's like we always kind of make the exception to the rule to the toxic people. And so toxic people thrive on blurry boundaries or no boundaries at all. Okay, and so you need to make it crystal clear of what you will and what you won't tolerate from that person. So for example, you can say, hey, I'm no longer available for late night drama. Do not call me about gossip. Do not bother me about things that are not important to either us raising a child together or our relationship or what we have to do at work. So set that clear expectation. A lot of times toxic people do not like the boundaries, and so they're going to have some pushback. But again, it's up to you to make sure you're pushing back with that, still enforcing that boundary, saying, hey, I said I won't be able to do that, or I'm not doing that. Step number 2 is to start to distance yourself gradually. And so in doing this, you don't need to be having this dramatic confrontation about I'm leaving, I don't want to do this, but start reducing your exposure or your time or your access to that person gradually over time. So if you constantly talk to them on a day-to-day basis, multiple times a day, maybe let's knock it down to just calling once a day. And then you eventually go from once a day to once every other day and once every couple of days. And now you're talking once a week, and then that week becomes every other week. And now we're just talking periodically throughout the month. Or we only talk when it's necessary for us to have a conversation. And so it's important, again, that's enforcing that boundary, because you're letting them know, hey, this is what I mean. But also, you're also proactively stepping back and taking some accountability and limiting your access to that person. Step number 3, cut ties completely and on your own decision. So when you're ready to walk away, boop, it's time to do it. Do it. So if this person is truly toxic, go ahead and block them, unfollow them, and remove the access for your life. And so I can remember when I did this, when I had previous relationships and I wanted to move on from that person. And so I would go through, delete their number out my phone. And of course, it was already ingrained in my memory, so I memorized their number. But deleting that out of your phone is kind of a big step. Deleting any pictures that you might have of them, getting rid of anything that reminds you of them or things that may have gifted you, if it's not kids. But getting rid of those tangible things that you know, hey, I don't need this because it reminds me of them. Maybe it's a sweatshirt or a blanket or something. But getting rid of those things that could be the gentle reminders of that toxic relationship to that person. Because the last thing you want to do is be in a vulnerable state, and then you see something that reminds you of that familiarity with that person or reminds you of something about that person, and then next thing you know, you're going back. So cut it off and get rid of everything that reminds you of them. So now what do we do if this is somebody that I work with or I'm related to and I can't necessarily cut them off? Well, that's fine. There are still things that you could do to, again, keep that distance or to no longer allow them to impact you and be toxic to you. And so this is how you protect your peace in those specific interactions. And so limiting your interactions with that person. So just like the tip before, keeping it strictly necessary, no deep emotional investment. Do not get involved or intertwine on the emotional level with that person. So if we're talking about work related stuff, that's all we're talking about. If we're co-parenting, all we need to be talking about is the kids or things that the kids need. If we're talking about whatever it is, friendship stuff or things that need to be exchanged between us, that's all we're sticking in. The moment it starts to veer off track, get it back on track, set that boundary, enforce it, and stick with it. And again, tell them, hey, I'm no longer available for that. Another tip is to detox after your encounters with this person. So whether that's a deep prayer after you talk to them, journaling, getting it out, venting, meditate, do something that restores you. So after they've mentally, emotionally exhausted you, refill yourself, fill your cup back up, because again, you don't want that person to have that power over you. And so you want to always try to remain balanced throughout this whole process. So the moment they deplete, you refill to back it up. The last tip I have for you is to mentally disengage. Don't react to every negative thing or behavior that this person might try to do. Remember, this is all a manipulation tactic. The moment that you fall prey to that, again, it starts the cycle back over. So try to stay mentally detached. Focus on what the outcome of the conversation is going to be or what it is that you're discussing, and stick to that. Always honor your boundaries throughout this whole process. Have you a game plan going into the conversation? So if you notice that this person is, as we're talking, they're going to try to throw some little caveat in to derail the conversation, anticipate that. Have your script prepared so you can get it back on track. Or if you just blatantly have to, just kind of ignore the statement. One bonus tip I want to leave for you in this conversation is, people frown upon ghosting, but I firmly believe ghosting can be healthy in the manner of which you feel like you need to abruptly disconnect from this person. And so just cut it off. Block all the access to you. That's perfectly okay. That does not make you a bad person. It just makes you a person that, says that I prioritize my peace and my well-being over this connection and this interaction. And so therefore this person cannot contact me or have access to me until I'm ready for that reconnection with that person. So I hope that you found this video inspirational. Comment below and let me know the last time you had to cut somebody off, what you had to do to protect your peace. Talk back to me. Like, subscribe, and share to this channel. And I promise y'all will not be disappointed on the content that's to come. I'll see y'all on the next video.